You're watching the Lazy Reviewers, and this is the full review of the Poco X3 GT. This is the next phone in Poco's lineup in the X series, the X3 GT. This is their gaming edition phone, and we will tell you all about it in this video. First of all, let's talk about specs. Being a gaming phone, you would expect this to have top-notch specs like the processor, the RAM and storage. Regarding the CPU, this thing has the new Dimensity 1100 chip. It's not their top-end chip, that would be the Dimensity 1200. That's in the Poco F3 GT and the Nord 2. Other than that, the RAM in this phone is 6GB or 8GB, and the storage options are 128 and 256. That is UFS 3.1 storage, so it is pretty fast. With the specs out of the way, let's talk about the phone itself. On the back you have a plastic body. It's really weird, it has a really bad texture, it feels really cheap. Other than that, the frame is also made of plastic, not an aluminium alloy. The hole punch is pretty minimal. It is bigger than the Poco F3. It's about the same size as the Mi 10 T5Z, but it's pretty small. Other than that, the back camera bump is really good. It doesn't disturb you when you're gaming. It's really minimal. It doesn't protrude out of the body that much. Now let's take a look at the body of the phone. From the sides we have a volume rocker on the right side. Underneath that we have a power button fingerprint combo. On the bottom side we have a USB Type-C, and it charges at 67 watts, which is really good. The phone also comes with a really thick charging cable. Other than that, we have our bottom firing speaker and a microphone. On the top we also have our top firing speaker, a microphone and an IR blaster. On the left side of the phone we only have our SIM tray, which does not have a micro SD card slot, so you're stuck with the storage option you get. Moving on to the display of the phone, you can see that the bezels are really thick. They do get in the way of playing games, and the camera bump is in the middle instead of being on a side like on the Mi 10 T5Z. But overall the experience is not bad. One thing I will say about this phone is that the brightness is really bad. Even at max brightness you cannot use it in the sun whatsoever. The display is IPS as well, so that's also a bad thing against the phone's screen. The phone is also stuck at 1080p. You cannot move it down to 720p to save your battery. And even in the refresh rate, there's a lot of quality of life things that are missing. For example, the 90Hz option is not even present. Now let's talk about the software on the phone, which is MIUI 12.5. MIUI software has gotten a lot of criticism in the past for having a lot of bloatware ads and all of that. I'm glad to see that there aren't that many ads, but bloatware is still there. There's a lot of useless apps on the phone, which you can uninstall, but some of them do stay. Other than that, the using experience is pretty streamlined. There's a really good volume rocker animation, and you can change the volume of anything with just a tap of a button. Now let's move on to the camera of the phone. No phone review is complete without talking about the camera. On the top we have a 64 megapixel main camera. Underneath that we have a 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel macro camera. On the front we have a single 16 megapixel camera in the small punch hole. Other than that, there are a few bugs in the video mode. You cannot record 1080 60 FPS at HDR, and you cannot record anything above 720p at 30 FPS in the AI mode. Here you can see some of the picture samples from the camera of the Poco X3 GT. And now you can see the video samples from the back camera and the front camera of the Poco X3 GT. And this is the type of video you can expect to make Instagram stories and YouTube shorts with, TikToks and everything of the sort. You can also judge the audio quality. This is recorded from the back camera of the Poco X3 GT. Now let's talk about one of the main highlights of the Poco X3 GT, which would be the battery. The Poco X3 comes with a 5000 mAh battery with 67 watts of fast charging. It comes with this really beefy brick, and you can see that it's 67 watts, really heavy and really thick. Other than that, the phone also comes with this cable, and you can see it's really thick as well, and it has these orange accents at the connectors. Now let's take a look at the benchmarks of the phone. We have Antutu version 9. You can see this score comes around to 592,000, and this is the quality and the performance you would expect from a new chip. This might get better with future updates as Xiaomi optimizes their new chip. Other than that, this is pretty expected quality and performance. During video games, you will not notice any stuttering other than PUBG. Maybe at 60 FPS it drops down to around 50 sometimes, but that's about it. Here you can see the screen recording of the phone while playing PUBG Mobile at 60 FPS.
Team match, let's go!
The blue team has scored for the first time! Cover me! I need a weapon. I need a weapon.
This phone has a lot going for it. The new processor, the amazing battery life and battery charging speed, the camera. What this phone does not have is a good display. It is IPS and the brightness is so low that you can barely see it in sunlight. We had a video of it in our camera review where if you're standing outdoors and your camera is open, you cannot see anything except the reflection of your shirt. Other than that, this phone did disappoint me by its build quality. The back is really cheap feeling. I had the blue version. There is a black color that is glossy instead of this weird texture, so maybe you'll have better luck with that. Looking around the phone, you will also notice that there is no headphone jack in a device that is branded as a gaming device. I think that gaming devices for now should hold on to their headphone jacks. It is pretty useful. The phone does come with a USB Type-C to 3.5mm adapter, but you can either charge your phone or listen to the sound. And that's not a choice that a gamer should have to make. The storage on this phone is also pretty limiting. You only get 256 gigabytes of memory and you don't even have a SD card slot. So you cannot expand your storage and you're stuck with what you get. And 256 is not that much in this day and age. I would not suggest this phone to anyone who goes outdoors or takes their phone out, especially because of this build quality. You look really bad holding this phone. There are a lot of other phones that are good for this price, sub $400. You can get the Poco X3 GT for that price. The new Pixel 5a is also coming. That's a great phone. Other than that, the OnePlus Nord 2 is also coming. It has the Dimensity 1200 processor with the same amount of charging. I think it's 65 watts. But that would be a much better option than this phone, especially because of the display and the build quality. This is not a good build quality by any means. Well, that's all we have for you today. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more to the point unboxings, reviews and much more.